Wow, that thing really burns. Look at it burn. Come down here, just dip it in there. Let me show you this. Hello, welcome to WayPoint Survival. Today, I'm going to show you how to make an 8-day stinker. Stay tuned. Interestingly enough, by the 1920s, a lot of things that had been used in the 19th century were rapidly disappearing. A lot of innovation, a lot of changes. And I've got an article here from the early 20s, 1921, and it's to the editor of All Outdoors. And they were wanting to know where they could find some California 8-day stinkers. In other words, the type of fire starters that were used back during the days of the gold rush by the 49ers. And so I'm going to show you how to make something similar to that in our modern age. I've searched, I can't find them anywhere, and so let's get to that right now. All right, to get started, you're just going to need a few simple things. I've got some wax paper here. I've got some good tight bond waterproof wood glue. I've got a small paintbrush. I've got some strike anywhere matches, and you can still get these on places like eBay and Amazon. A lot of hardware stores carry these in the US. And then you possibly will want some thread, just some black thread. You're also going to want to pick up some sulfur powder. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take out some matches. Now please note that some of these matches, these are just produced by the millions. Some of them are curved really bad. Some of them look really good, some of them don't. Some of them won't have much of the chemical. If you look at this match, it has a green and a white tip. The way that works is when you strike that on a surface, those two chemicals combine, and that's what gives you your flame. So if that doesn't have very much white on it, you don't want to use it. All right. Now we're going to take our glue and open it up. And the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to dip in here and get a little bit of this glue. And we're going to go alongside right here. It's like this. And we're going to glue these two together. And I find that for the best size, you really only need about 4 of these in a row. So we'll go here and put a little bit more on this one. Okay, there we go. You want to try to keep them as even as you can. And then one more just like this. So we've got 4 together in a row. Then we lay them down on the wax paper just like this. All right, once you get those 4 down like that, then you're going to want to take some more glue and we're going to coat the top of it just like this with a generous coating. And I'm only going in maybe 1/4 of the way into the match. Next we go to the other one and we just put it on the one side because we already have some on the bottom, and we just start stacking them up. Now if you do have one that's a little curved like this one, you can still use it, you just have to use it on the outside. So you go ahead and just put it so that it curves to the outside, so that it comes and goes to the outside like that and doesn't mess up your stack. All right, I'll do this until I have a stack of 4 this way and 4 this way. All right, got to be careful putting these together. They're pretty fragile when you're doing this, but there's our last one. Then you want to put some on top just like this. And then you want to come in with the back of your paintbrush and you want to even all of these up. Try to keep them as even as possible. Takes a little bit of doing, but you can get it figured out pretty quick. All right. Then you can paint it with the glue on the sides. Just make sure you get extra in there. But now when we're done with this is not going to want to stick together real good if it's cold. Now if it's warm in your house or something, then lay this by the fireplace. But what we can do is we can take a little bit of thread here. Now before we go too much farther, I want to remind you of a couple things. First of all, make sure and subscribe to the WayPoint Survival and Prepping 101 newsletter. We do plan to be giving away some more stuff later on this year. We want you to be entered in for those drawings, so you need to subscribe to that. And you do subscribe to both of those. You don't just subscribe to one. So it's WayPoint Survival and Prepping 101. You'll get both of those newsletters. Also, I want to tell you that we've started a WayPoint Survival Shorts channel on YouTube. As many of you know, there are a lot of people that don't watch the long form, but they will watch a short. And sometimes we're just kind of pressed for time, so I get it. But I want to try to build that channel. I just literally started it. So if you could go there and subscribe to that, I'd really appreciate it. I'll make sure and put a link to it down below in the description box and probably in the first pinned comment. So if you could go there and subscribe and help me build that, I'd sure appreciate it. And the problem with these laying flat is the back end is square, but the front tip is round. So it doesn't always want to cooperate. So you got to be really careful with these when you first start doing this. Once you get it started, it's pretty easy. All right, there we go. And then you can just kind of squeeze them all together. And if you want, you can put a little bit more glue on there, but that's what it's going to look like, and that's going to hold it together. And then it's a little easier to make sure that they're all the same length and well arranged. Okay, so what we have here for our next step is we've got just a can that's cut with an opening in it. And then there's a smaller can that fits down inside, and there's a little lip down there so it can sit on that. So you can see right there, so it doesn't go all the way in, kind of sits down on top of it. And this is some sulfur that we've used previously. So you can buy this from eBay, Amazon, I think. You can see what that looks like. And I'll try to put a link down in the description box below if you want to get some. So we're just going to put a little bit in here. Add to what we've got. All right, so we want to make sure that it's deep enough. And then what we're going to use is a tea candle. And we put the tea candle in there like that. Just going to light that candle. Now sulfur melts at a pretty low temperature, so make sure you observe all safety cautions and don't get this going too much, because you can cause yourself some trouble. And then just turn this away from the wind. Let that heat up. And you might want to get yourself a little stick to stir it around a little bit. That works pretty good too. And then we'll let that get liquid. So you may have to add extra heat to that. You just got to be careful you don't set the sulfur on fire, because it is flammable. And it is best if you do this outside. All right, we've got it pretty well melted. And one good thing you want to test, make sure it's not too hot. If it's too hot, it will ignite when it hits the oxygen. So all right, we can dip it in there. You can see what we've got. You can see the yellow there. And of course you can do individual matches if you want. You could do a couple at a time. Just get a little extra sulfur on there. Lay those to dry. But what we're going to do is we're going to be dipping this right here. Come down here, just dip it in there. Shake it off. You don't want to coat it too heavily. And that's what you have. So now we have sulfur tipped Strike Anywhere matches. Okay, so the last step we want to do then, we have a double boiler here. It's just a can with some wax in it, some water down on the bottom, because again, wax is flammable. And we take what we just did here, the one we just made, we're going to go ahead and dip it in the wax, get down there pretty far, but not too much. And now we have our waterproofed matches. All right, so let's talk about these a little bit. This is another set that I made earlier. Now, you've seen these. Let me show you this. In this old snuff tin, I have a couple of originals. This is what they look like. They are much smaller. So the wood that they made these matches out of, and I'm not exactly sure what the process was here for the manufacturing, but you can see kind of how it was put together. And it is a very similar process to what we did. These are actually really hard to find. I got them on eBay, and you can look for like Civil War matches, and sometimes you can find these. These are the only two I've ever seen, and I bought them. But we've made something similar using this. Now how you would use these is you would carry these in some sort of a small, this is brass match safe. There's all kinds of different match safes that you can find. People made them. And I've actually got a really unique one that I want to show you that I've never heard or seen of before. But you would just keep these in here and dump it out like this. And that way they don't all fall apart. They stay together. If you are in an emergency situation, you could light the whole thing if you had to start a fire right away. But because the sulfur's on there, they burn much longer and they are much harder to put out. The wind doesn't blow them out quite as easily. And being strike anywhere matches makes it a little bit easier to strike in other places. Of course, they aren't as good as they used to be, but this is the best that we have now, these green tips. But you just keep them down in here. And so there's 16 matches. These other ones that you've seen, these older ones here, there are way more matches in this. And you could easily put a whole lot more in one of these cases. But these are really tiny. These are so fine. There's hardly anything on there, as you can see. But these are called 8-day stinkers because of the sulfur. That sulfur smell would hang around camp forever for 8 days, right? But these are the old kind of matches that the 49ers during the gold rush and on in through the Civil War used to use. And I think there was still one company making these even into the early 1920s. But these are almost impossible to find. If you do find a source, please let me know. I'd love to buy some new ones. But this is how you can make your own, and I think that you will like it. Let's light one and see what it looks like. Okay, so you can see here, here's one that we've made, and my fingers are pretty cold, so we're going to use our antique blade here. You don't have to have these, of course. You don't have to use it this way, but my fingers are just too cold to do it adequately. I'm just going to pull this apart. Now these will break off where you have them glued, so we pull it here and it just kind of snaps off right there like that. So it does make a little bit of a shorter match, but that's okay. And we're going to use the box here and just strike it, and you can see, and it burns really hot. That sulfur gets going, and yeah, pretty adequate. Yeah, look, the wind can't even blow it out. I thought it went out, but nope, it's still going. I was getting ready to throw it down and try another one. But these are much more windproof than a regular match. Pretty impressive. And as you can see, it burns a whole lot longer. Just don't let any of that sulfur get on your fingers, so kind of keep it tilted down because it will melt and run on you. All right, better drop it. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little foray into the past as we talk about what our forefathers used back in the old days, back in the 19th century during the gold rush and on up into the early 20th, as they panned for gold, as they dug out their fortunes by just perseverance and hard work. But they knew a lot of tips and techniques and just little things here and there that made their lives easier. As hard as they were, they figured out how to get by. This is James Bender for WayPoint Survival. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also make sure and check out the links in the description box below, just under the More button. While you're down there, you'll find the link for our WayPoint Survival digital class. This is where you can train in the comfort and convenience of your own backyard the top 20 skills that we consider to be the most important from our Phase 1 Survival and Bushcraft class. You'll also find where you can sign up for the WayPoint Survival and Prepping 101 newsletter. Absolutely full of great ideas. You're going to want to subscribe to that. Comes to your inbox at least once, if not twice a week. Make sure and do that. You'll probably want to print it out and keep it. It's that good, and it's absolutely free. You'll also find the link for waypointsurvival.com, and that's where you can sign up to take in-person classes here at our beautiful training facility in Southern Ohio. And you also want to check out the gear list for those classes. Our classes do start in April like they do every year, so we're looking forward to meeting our students out here in the great outdoors. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. We'd really appreciate it. And when you do subscribe, make sure and press that bell button so that you can stay notified of all of our upcoming videos, and we'll talk to you next time.